Hi, this is Daniel Villarino. Welcome to my YouTube channel. A few weeks ago I was in my son's apartment and he mentioned to my wife that he needed a fruit bowl. I want to make him something and I don't want to wait several months until the wood is ready for final turning. So I got this piece of spalted hackberry, which is kiln dry. It doesn't have much humidity and it looks like a very nice piece. The diameter I think is okay. This one has 8 inches in diameter. That's more or less 20 centimeters or 200 millimeters, and is 3 inches tall, which is about 7.5 centimeters tall. So I think the diameter is okay, but I would like to make it a bit taller so it will have more capacity for fruit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try my first segmenting job. I'm going to make a ring, actually an octagon, that I am going to glue to the top of that cylinder, and for that I am going to use Granadillo. I have these bars of Granadillo that they are pretty dry, and I think they are going to be a nice contrast with the hackberry. I've been playing around with the figure of the cylinder to try to find out the octagon that I had to make to do the segments. The idea is this base here is going to be the piece of hackberry, and these are going to be the pieces of Granadillo. So basically I had to make 8 segments like this one to complete the octagon that I am going to glue to the top of the cylinder. That octagon is going to be made of Granadillo. Now, if you divide a circle in 8 identical pieces, each of these angles is going to be 45 degrees. For the octagon, for this triangle here, if this angle is 45 and the sum of all the 3 angles is 180, it means that these 2, which are identical, had to be 67.5 each. That means that with respect to the perpendicular of this face, I had to set the meter saw to cut at 22.5 degrees so that I can make these inclined cuts. And once I made this figure at scale, so basically I found the measure for this side, and it's going to be about 3 inches and 3/4, which is approximately 9.5 centimeters. So I had to cut all these segments in such a way that's the side. Now, once I have all the segments ready, then I had to do the glue up. For the glue up, what I'm going to do is to glue up 4 of them, and the other 4, once I have these 4 glued and these 4 glued, I want to join this face using the disc sander so I get a very nice and even surface. And once I have the whole octagon, then I can sand a complete face, and I will do the same with one of the faces of the cylinder of hackberry, so I got a nice joint there as well. So let's get to work. I'm going to set the angle of the cut to 22.5 degrees in this direction. And this meter saw has a stop there, so that's nice because I don't have to do much measuring at all. I have set up a stop block here so that the distance between this point and the point of the longer side of this trapezoid is, let's see, it's slightly more than 3 3/4. It's going to be about 3 7/8. That way, when I cut all the segments, I will have some room to do the sanding and get them to the final shape. And that's the first segment. Normally what I will do is just to turn it around and cut like that. But since I want this to be the exterior, I had to have the cut like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to waste a small triangle there so that I can get all this part on the exterior side of the bowl and the darker part on the interior. Okay, I have all the pieces sanded and they fit pretty well. If you can see, I mark here one joint and another one where I am not going to put glue there. I'm going to put glue in this one, in this one, in this one, and also in these three. So I get two octagons, sort of saying. And when I finally finish that, I am going to sand this joint to make sure that the fit is perfect. I have got a couple of cardboard shims that I'm going to place there and there, so that once I compress the band around this, once it is everything is glued, they will absorb any difference in the angles. Okay, this is the setup that I have. I put all the pieces are glued between themselves, except for these two places here and here, where I put these shims from cardboard there, and I put a couple of pieces of wood to hold everything flat against the MDF piece, just to prevent some warping, and that way I will have that surface, the one that is touching the MDF, as a reference for making the glue up later on. Okay, this has been drying for a couple of days, so I'm going to remove it from the clamps and see how it looks. It looks okay. What I'm going to do now is sand it on this side to leave it perfectly flat, and then attach it to this side of the blank, which is already sanded and it is already flat. Okay, I have two perfectly flat surfaces, and I just mark the octagon there to make sure that I center it perfectly in the middle, and I know exactly where I have to apply the glue. So I'm going to make this glue up and leave it dry for a day or so. It has been a whole day since I glued all these pieces together, so now it's time to remove the clamps and see how it looks. That's perhaps the disadvantage of segmentation, is that it requires first time to make all the glue ups and make sure that the glue is dry, and the cutting of the pieces, you have to be careful on the cutting, but it has also several advantages, and at least 3 advantages I can think from the top of my head right now are that first, like in this case, that I wanted to do a ball taller than the piece that I had. Basically there's no limit to what you can do with segmentation, because you can add pieces to make them taller, wider, segmenting, you can do practically everything. Now, the other advantage is that because of the way that you make the segments, like in this case that I'm cutting pieces of Granadillo that were long grain, when you are going to turn this, you will be turning long grain most of the time. There is not going to be turning of end grain, and that means that you won't have that much of a tear out, which is always great because the surface is going to be much smoother. Now, the other advantage that I can think is that you can make combination of different colors of wood, and basically that will be something that you have to leave to your imagination, how you want to combine the woods. It's something that can work really nice. There we have the piece. It's pretty sturdy. The glue is well dry. It has been drying for a long time. So now comes the fun part, which is to mount it on the lathe and to work it out. through up the blank, all the exterior, the base and the front. So what I am going to do now is put it in the jaws, catching it on this side here so that I can make a tenon on the back, work a little bit more the exterior, and then begin making the hole. These goods are pretty dry, particularly the spalted one. That is very tough on the tools. I have to sharpen the tools all the time, but it looks pretty nice. It has a lot of holes there. I probably will have to put some CA glue, but it's looking good. The idea is that because the jaws have a dovetail, I'm going to incline this. I am exaggerating now to demonstrate, but basically I make an inclination in this direction, so I will enter like that, but not that much. This here is mostly perpendicular, so it's going to be just a little bit to match the angle of the dovetail. So with the tool freshly sharpened, I should be okay to make that mortise. Okay, I have a very clean mortise there, so I am going to turn the ball around and place it in the chuck so that I can begin to give it more shape on the exterior part as well as the inside. I hope you can appreciate that the play it has is relatively small. So now with the thumb I'm going to press in the center and open the jaws so that I get a secure fit. makes the colors and the grain of the wood to pop up. I apply a good coat, and now I'm removing all the excess. I am going to let it dry for about 30 minutes and then apply another coat, and after that one dries, which probably is going to be tomorrow, I will be able to buff it with Tripoli, white diamond and Carnauba Wax. Danish oil is a drying oil. Basically you apply it and it will dry. It will penetrate the wood and also form a layer on top of the surface, but inside as well. I applied 3 layers on the ball, and between layers I let it dry for a while, and now it's ready to buff. For buffing I will use a system in which I have these pads for the inside and then the round wheels for the outside. But since I have the ball mounted on the lathe, I'm going to do the inside. The way the buffing works is that you begin with Tripoli, then you go to white diamond, and at the end you apply Carnauba Wax. And I have 3 pads, one for Tripoli, one for white diamond, and the other one for Carnauba. It's not convenient to mix them because the grades for each of these pastes are different. This is coarser, this is finer, and this is for the final touches. So you don't want to mix those. So it's always convenient to have different heads for each one. And the same for the wheels. So right now I'm going to do the inside of the ball and a little bit perhaps of the outside, and then I'm going to reverse mount it. We're using the cold jaws, finish the base, apply Danish oil and wait until it dries so that I can do the exterior. Okay, the interior is finished, so now I am going to reverse mount it and finish the base. Okay, I finished the base, I sand it, and I apply a little friction with a small piece of wood. Actually this These are the stirrers that you find in the coffee shops, and I made a little point with a knife there. I stick it in there and let the friction to burn the inside. So now it's ready. I just have to apply the Danish oil and then let it wait until I can finish the outside. Hey, I just finished the bowl. This is the first for me for several times. This is the first time I do a lamination between the base, which is Hackberry, and the top, which was a ring of Granadillo, and also segmentation. The ring on the top was actually an octagon where 8 segments of Granadillo, and it is also the first time that I use the Beall Buffing System for the finish, using Tripoli, white diamond, and Carnauba Wax in that order. Let me show you the detail of the base. I make some rings there as well, and at the border I make a burn mark, and I make burn marks in the middle there. It is finished, and the inside it looks pretty nice. I think this Hackberry is actually spectacular, and one of the things is that because of the way that I mounted the rings, you can see that the grain goes in this direction here, and then in this direction here, so it looks like waves actually. You see, pretty nice. These two woods actually combine really nice, I think. So, my son, I hope you enjoyed, and for everybody, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to post some pictures of the bowl at the end. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy it, please give it a like. Also make comments, and if you didn't yet, subscribe to my channel. And until the next one, cheers!